Welcome back to Lure Fishing TV and another tutorial. By the way, have you watched the Italy video? Last video that went online, I think 2 nights ago or so, where I am hunting some urban street trout in the north of Italy. It was an amazing trip and you should definitely check it out. I'll link it somewhere here. Anyway, today tutorial and one of my most favorite finesse rigs, finally the Carolina rig, Cara rig, however you want to call it. The Carolina rig. Look, I've already got the wrong hook here for it. Not really, because it doesn't matter too much, but I do like to have it with a just standard, not large eye hook. Compared to the Texas rig, there is one more thing we need. So, what do we need for the Texas rig? A Texas hook. Boop, there we go. We need a bullet weight, tungsten, and we need one of these little stoppers. And that's your Texas rig sorted. Also for the Texas rig, I will link a video here. And to make it a Carolina rig, we only need one more little component, which is this little rolling swivel. So we've got, as per usual, our leader, open end, mainline / rod that side. So we've got our leader. And now, how lethargic do we think the fish are? How passively and how slow do we want to present our bait? Depending on how we want that, we choose our length. A Carolina rig could be 30 centimeters long and can be 60 centimeters long. Let's go with something in between, like a 40-45 centimeter long. Always take a bit more off to take in account your knots and what you lose. And now we start exactly how we start with the Texas. We pop your bullet weight on. Not wearing glasses today, so struggling a little bit to find the hole. And there we go. Awkward silence. And then we pop on our mandatory little stopper, float stop. And then, rather than putting the hook straight away, which would just be a Texas rig, we put our little swivel on there. Rolling swivel. With a standard clinch. Or tucked one. You know what, I'm not actually sure. I'm so bad with the names of the knots. I think it's a clinch. There we go. Don't do that with your teeth, don't do what I just did. Pull it tight with your fingers and then pop. Do that. And you end up with something like this, which is your first part of the Carolina rig. So this is not going to catch you a lot of fish yet, but what we're going to do now is we're going to take that little part that we cut off. We're going to put that on the other side of the swivel. The other eye. Oh. Bad neck. This gives us a good chance to test our knots as well. Take that off. Whoa! I thought there's a little something in the office, but it's just my stack of chaos imploding in itself. And when we've decided what length we want, I kind of usually think like a 40 centimeter leader is quite sufficient. Then we add our hook. And now I have forgotten something essential. I have forgotten a lure to put on here, but you will see what I mean anyways. pop your hook on. On the hook you won't need the large eye one, you just need a standard eye one, because your eye only needs to take the hook of the leader. And you end up with something like this. I hope you can see a little bit. There we go. So you've got your bullet weight on the top there. And then you've got a leader to the hook. So what this basically does, it's going to go a bit back here so you can hopefully see what the rig will do. So you can just, obviously, with any finesse rig, you can just drag this. But the good thing about the Carolina is you can quite actively get it quite high up into the water and let it fall down onto the bottom. And even without giving it slack, even if you let it sink down on a tight line, even then your lure will still, when it sinks, and your lure will still stay away from the weight, if that makes sense. Will not go close to the weight, because obviously the little swivel that you've put in, which keeps the weight to which keeps the weight from sliding all the way to the hook, which means you can jig it into the water column, let it sink down on a tight line, on a slack line, whatever you prefer, and as soon as that happens, pop, your lure will stop and then sink at its own rate, at its own falling rate, whatever that is. If it's a buoyant lure, you know, and the hook is just kind of floating it, your lure will actually kind of hover for quite some time. Some lures will actually kind of go up a little bit, but most of them with a nice kind of natural buoyancy, the hook will just sink them very nice and slowly. Or the Keitechs, the non-heavy salted ones, they usually have kind of a bit of a buoyancy on their own if they don't have a hook. So with a hook usually they kind of go very slowly, and that is such a deadly phase for the fish just to go bosh. It looks so natural, it has so much time, the fish, to smash that bait, and again everything is lined through. The fish will, again, even less, because you have this whole leader here, the second kind of last leader, before you even go anywhere close to the weight. And then the weight, of course, is again lined through, just threaded onto the leader. So really, really no connection with any weight. The fish will be able to take that lure, and you will then feel, often rather than a tug on the, because there's quite a lot of slack stuff going on here, if that makes sense, quite often rather than a really hefty tug, you get kind of a bit of a pull. Stuff gets a bit heavier when you want to start it again. Do feel free to kind of go up, give it a little bit, and then, you know, give it the famous bang, and then your fish should hopefully be hooked really nicely, either in the scissors or, depending on where the hook is, through the roof of the mouth. When do we use this? Carolina rig or finesse rigs in general. I think the Carolina rig is compared, or maybe comparably, to the drop shot, the ones where you can, the two rigs where you can present your lure the absolute slowest and the most lethargic. So very cold water, very lethargic fish. Can also really be hot water. In very hot summer months, the perch also don't really like to chase bait when it's too hot. And obviously, one thing that finesse rigs are really, really good for is if for whatever reason you want to upsize on your bait. Sorry, on your weight. Whenever you want to upsize on your weight, may it be wind, you want to have control to your rig. May it be depth, you don't want to wait however long for your rig to hit the bottom. There's several reasons why you want to use some heavier weights, and in the instance of finesse rigs, your weight doesn't affect really your lure, especially with the Carolina. It's so nice and detached from the weight that if you're fishing a reservoir but you really want to downsize because big lures just don't do anything that day, feel free to kind of fish a 2-inch easy shiner, a 2-inch craw on here, and bang a 14, 18, 20 gram bullet weights on there, and it makes absolutely no difference to the fish. Whatever bait is, whatever weight is there, the fish will feel the same amount of resistance, which is 0. Absolutely deadly. I want to say in the really cold winter months, probably my absolute favorite, the Carolina rig. Guys, give it a try. Bullet weight, stopper, swivel, hook, and then again, like with everything, nice and soft lure on there, a pintail, a craw, something that kind of looks natural on a empty fall, I like to say, on a free fall without being pulled down. Paddle tails, absolutely no problem if you would like to, because obviously while you pull your Carolina rig into mid-water, that paddle will go, and then the paddle will probably stop, but then that does not matter. On the way down, it'll still get slammed. So that paddle will attract the fish in, and then the natural fall will hopefully commit or make the fish commit. So yes, Carolina rig today. Guys, any questions, let me know. Any other thoughts you have on the Carolina rig? Any other rigs you would like me to present, or my thoughts on any other rigs? If you've got any rigs that I might not know, please pop them down below and I'll be more than happy to discuss them. And yeah, as always, tight lines.